how to get the most out of the Forte Forums, but also just how to get the most out of any recruiting event that you might be going to. So we're gonna go through some content with you today to really make sure you're prepared and feel confident heading into a forum or heading into a school event, recruitment event, whatever it might be, through this recruitment season. So thank you all for being here. My name is Ashley Lotzenheiser. I'm the Director of MBA Programs here at Forte, which means I oversee all the programming we do for candidates like yourself that are considering an MBA. So great job being here today. I've worked at Forte for about 5 years. Prior to that, I spent about 10 years in admissions and recruiting. So I used to sit on the other side of the table with my amazing colleagues. And so excited today to be with our panel to help you feel more confident in this process. I'm going to take just a couple minutes before we get started to talk about the work that we do here at Forte. So if you're new to the organization, if you are new on this webinar today, thanks for being here and excited to help you learn more. So here at Forte, we are all about fueling the future of business, helping you reimagine what's possible in your career. We are an amazing network of great corporate partners as well as business school partners, and then of course, candidates like yourself. Over our 20+ year history, we now have over 125,000 candidates in our pipeline. So you are now a part of this network. Congratulations. I'm excited to have you. And as I said, helping you rethink what's possible in your professional career. Whether you're an undergraduate student, you're on your way to an MBA, or a current MBA or alumni, we have programming for all stages of the career. So I'm excited to be here today talking about helping make the MBA a more accessible option for more candidates. We are a nonprofit organization, so we certainly hope that on your journey to and through an MBA, you consider giving back with your time, talent, or treasure to Forte. And of course, we hope that you are successful in this MBA process and end up at one of our amazing member schools. So we do work with over 60 member schools across the US, Canada, UK, and Europe. So wherever your MBA journey takes you, we hope you consider a member school. They support the work that we do here at Forte and support candidates like yourself. So this is a list of our full-time partner or member institutions. Don't worry about trying to get a screenshot. They're all on the website. So I want to mention them as well as our 30+ executive and professional MBA program. So if you want to maybe keep working while you're doing an MBA, that is a fabulous option. We have over 30 schools that are here to support you in that as well. Now, events like this webinar here today are kind of one of the things that we do, kind of our bread and butter. We'd love to see you at another event. So throughout August, we have many forums, and then we'll kind of come back to the webinar scene in September. So a couple of webinars I want to highlight in September. The first is for any candidates that have any athletic backgrounds. So maybe you're a college athlete. We have a webinar upcoming to kind of talk about how that might serve you very well in your future in business and an MBA program. We also have a webinar all about kind of the day in the life of an MBA student. So if you're curious about what it is to be an MBA, join us on September 17th. And then on September 30th, we're doing a joint event with GMAC, the makers of the GMAT exam, as well as Access MBA, kind of first steps on the MBA application journey. So happy to see you at any of those future events as well. The other piece that we do is help you on the actual application to business school. So if you're looking for some help in building your best application, you want some guidance on how to actually prepare, complete the components of the application, please join our MBA launch program. We offer that in 3 different flavors. We have a live 8-month cohort. We have an asynchronous self-paced on-demand program, and then we have a hybrid program, which is a little bit of the best of both worlds. So you can find out more information on our website, as well as by attending any of our forum events. Our staff is happy to speak to those programs. But upcoming and kind of most relevant to our conversation today is we have a series of forums coming up, which is really just a great way for you to do 2 things mainly. Help understand the value of an MBA, connect with candidates who have been through this process before, and then also connect with our amazing member schools that I just mentioned. So these are unique opportunities for you to have kind of all of your potential schools in one place. School representatives travel from near and far to attend these events. So if you have an event in your backyard, we would love to see you there because school reps have traveled to talk to you. Believe it or not, they want to talk to you. So we have in-person events coming up in August throughout North America. We'd love to see you at any of these. You can attend as many as you'd like. Typically, I'll go through the agenda here. Most of these are going to be in the evening. So if you are working professional, you can come after work. If none of those work or you don't live or can travel to any of those places, we'd love to see you virtually. Quite a few virtual options depending on which format you are thinking about. The virtual opportunities also include some specialized panels. And then we have an event, our Breaking Barriers Forum in October, specifically for candidates that have been historically underrepresented in business. Really, we'd love to see you at any of these events. They're all free, open to you. If you have a friend that's also interested, please pass that along. We'd love to see you there. At most of our forums, as I mentioned, they're going to take place in the evening. So our in-person forums are mostly evening programming. Usually registration opens at 5, in some places a little bit later. But you'll come, you'll check in. If you've already registered, great. If you kind of attend last minute, you can register on site. And then we'll kick things off with a little bit of a welcome and an admissions panel. So everyone will get kind of lay of the land. If you're new to this process, we'll go through kind of all the components of the application. And then there's an open school fair that typically is from 6 to 8. At these forums, there could be anywhere between 30 and 60 schools attending. So you probably can't visit them all unless you're like super speedy and strategic at the fair, but hopefully you'll get a chance to talk to schools that maybe you know things about, you're already interested in, or you're just beginning this process and you can be chatting to schools. Since we have some reps on this call that I think are also attending these events, there might be a friendly face there. There'll also be an opportunity to potentially hear some school presentations, which are a little bit deeper dive into a specific program, information sessions about our MBA launch program, and then in select cities, there will also be an alumni panel. So we'd love to see you there. Happy to answer any questions about that agenda, or if your specific question is about an event, feel free to put that in the Q&A as well. Myself or my colleague Melissa can answer those too. So before we get to our panel, big thank you to the University of Texas at Dallas today for sponsoring our event. As I said, if you have any questions as we go through, definitely let us know. You can drop those in the Q&A and we will get to those. Also, there's some links in the chat to all the things I just talked about. Thank you to my colleague Melissa for doing that. I think I've done enough talking for now. I'm going to turn it over to our panel. So we're going to start with some introductions. I'll ask our panelists to tell us who they are, where they work. Then I have some pre-arranged questions for the panel. So I'm going to tee up some questions about preparing and being a part of a recruitment event. And then we'll have some questions from the audience. So to our audience, if you have questions, don't hesitate. Feel free to drop those in the Q&A as we go. You don't have to wait till the end. So with that being said, let's do some introductions. Denise, if you don't mind, I'm going to have you go first.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ashley. And good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this call. We're getting very excited for the upcoming forums and having an opportunity to meet you and for you to learn more about all of our programs, our amazing Forte partner programs. Again, I'm Denise Cason. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at UT Dallas. I've been here about 7.5 years and again, just looking forward to hopefully meeting some of you in person next week if you're able to attend the forums.
Awesome. Thanks, Denise. And Lika.
Hi, everyone. Lika Hertz. I am an associate director at UNC Kenan-Flagler Business School in beautiful Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Welcome and thanks for being here.
Awesome. And so the great thing about having these two panelists here today is they have traveled probably over the world, I'm assuming. I think you both have. Literally traveled all over the world to recruit candidates and have attended lots and lots of events. I've talked to probably thousands of candidates at this point. And so we have kind of their expertise here. So I'm going to draw upon that to help our candidates, the audience today, feel really prepared as they head into the forums or any recruitment event. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is how candidates can research programs. So before they come to an event, ideally, they've done at least some preliminary research. Any advice on how to research programs, what sources are out there, where they should be looking, any tips? So I'm going to have Lika, if you don't mind, kick us off, and then Denise, I'll have you chime in.
Absolutely. My number one piece of advice is to review the school's website before you go to the forum. The forum is a chance to have one-on-one conversations or really small group conversations, and you don't want to spend that time asking questions that you can easily find the information for on the website. All of the partner schools have very robust websites. They're probably going to share more about what they offer academically, employers that students and alumni are working for, class profiles, application processes, all of those things. So research the website, learn a little bit about the schools that you're interested in. I would also recommend like a school's YouTube page. A lot of schools have recorded sessions from months or years past that are on there. Check out like student clubs and organizations. You can usually find those on the website. So if you can connect with current students or alumni, especially women, some even like LinkedIn, some people will say like, I was a Forté fellow. You find them and you're like, oh, you're already connected with Forté. I'm really interested in the school that you went to or that you currently go to. Feel free to do outreach that way. But number one piece of advice is to check out a school's website and learn a little bit about it so that you can save the in-person conversation at the forum to be really personalized and geared toward you.
Great advice. Denise, what else would you add?
Yeah. Kind of along that same line, just be sure to research the schools that are in attendance that you want to meet at the forum, and have a plan when you get there. Like Ashley said, there may be a lot of schools, but definitely have a few target schools. If you have opportunity, one of those schools is in the admissions session panel before the forum, be sure to attend that, ask questions. Those are usually a little bit smaller groups, so you have opportunity to really get to know them a little bit more. Be sure to bring a pad and pen. I know it sounds basic, but you'll want to be sure to, take good notes on each school that you do have opportunity to talk to. And just be open too. There may be a school that you didn't really think about, and have opportunity to visit with someone on the admissions team and learn more about that program. Or maybe it's a geographical area that you've been thinking about moving to or hear a lot about. That's a great opportunity as well, just to meet those individuals and have opportunity to talk to them a little bit more. And if time permits, the schools are we're finalizing this incoming class, getting ready for our new class, but there may be a virtual session, or like Lika said, maybe a recording. Be sure to have opportunity to watch one of those if you can before you attend the forum.
And I will say, I think when you're a school rep, when you're on the other side of the table, a successful event is when you get to talk to people at the event. I'm always like, school reps go to these events because they want to talk to you. They really don't want to stand at their table by themselves. Like that is, typically admissions officers are hiring very personable, outgoing people who like to talk. And so like, if you're thinking like, oh gosh, that rep is just standing there at their table by themselves, like, should I bother them? Like, you're not bothering them. Like, that is what they were there for. That is what they spent all day traveling for, is to talk to you. So definitely, I think, great advice about that pre-work. But I'll also say, even if you don't necessarily know a lot about a school, but like there's something about it that's interesting, you can walk up to a school and like chat with them. So, to Lika's point, like, maybe pull out your phone and like do a little 5-minute Google search. Like, okay, let me make sure I know where the school is located. Or like that they offer the program that I'm looking for, that sort of thing. But like, you can, this is the forum events are going to be for candidates that are very early in this process and for candidates that are more kind of farther along. So I will say, like, because of that diversity of where candidates are in the process, sometimes when you go up to a table, a candidate might be asking like a really in-depth question about the application and you're just not there yet, and that's okay. So just know that like people are going to be in different places in this process, and that's perfectly fine. I definitely think, you both kind of mentioned like getting the opportunity to do some research, potentially, talking to alumni or students. I think those are all great opportunities when you are at an event. So when I do go up to the table and I'm like, hi, I'm interested in your program. What are some questions that you love to hear from candidates? Like, what are the things that you all want to talk about? So I think, to Lika's point, hopefully it's not something that you could just Google the answer to, but like, what are the things that you do love to talk about at a table with a candidate? Denise, why don't you go first on this one?
Yeah, I always like to talk about just what sets our program apart. There's all different types of schools and sizes, locations. So really for UT Dallas or, any school that you're talking to, just ask them really what sets your program apart. Tell me, how the process works for the career support, career outcomes. And it's been very, very important for MBA candidates to know those career outcomes. So tell me a little bit more about how that process works, what support you provide to your candidates. Is there a career management center, dedicated career coaches? Give me a little bit more information about that. what type of internships are they receiving? What type of job opportunities are they receiving? How is the job market in your particular area? You know, so those are some really good questions to start with. And you know, if you've done your homework and you kind of know round one deadline, you know, if they're test optional, you know, those are a few other things that can come up. But, you know, as Ashley said, we're here to answer any question. A lot of times it may be that there's 2 or 3 people at the table at the same time. And so you'll kind of learn from those other attendees too, some questions that you may not have thought of.
Yeah, definitely, right? The other attendees, you can also just like listen in on people's conversations. As long as it's not private and I'm like, hey, can I just kind of listen in? Like you can absolutely do that in an event. It is encouraged. You can just kind of see what everybody's doing, get lay of the land for sure. Lika, anything you like to answer, any questions that you like candidates to come with?
Yeah, well, just to build off of that, I love to like bring other people into the conversation, right? So if you are someone who like maybe knows less about a school, like I've literally had someone come up to me and say, like, I know nothing about the school. I don't even know where it is. I liked the color of your tablecloth. It caught my eye. I'd love to talk more. And I was like, great. So if you are in that type of situation and maybe it's a school that you weren't thinking of, just join a conversation, even, kind of I usually like create like a little like you of people and it's like let's have a small group conversation. It helps so that you're not having to wait in line. So that's a great way. But I think that really consider your why, right? Like you probably thought about like why are you attending this forum? Why are you interested in pursuing an MBA? And I think that that can also shape the questions that you ask. What's really important to you in your decision to pursue, graduate business education? Maybe you're there and you align with the mission of Forte and you really want to support women in business. You can talk to schools about like, hey, what are the women-led initiatives? Do you have a women's organization? Talk about those types of things. I also think like maybe there's a specific company or specific industry that you really want to work in. Talk to schools about the things that are important to you. Maybe by the end of it, hopefully you can see whether or not you might be able to picture yourself there. You may have conversations with schools and leave and being like, I don't know if that's like the right fit for me. And then leave other tables and be like, okay, that's absolutely on my short list. So I think Denise talked a little bit about like having your list in mind, like, but also to her point, like being open-minded as well, right? Like if you know you've got 3 schools you want to talk to, spend some time talking to other schools that maybe weren't on your list, especially if it's someone who's just standing there and isn't talking to anyone. Nothing is worse. Like Ashley said, nothing is more awkward than just standing at the table. Like we want to talk to you. Never be afraid to come up, even if it doesn't appear that we've like made eye contact or anything, just come up and start talking. That's why we're there. We love to chat.
And I will say, like, these all the school reps that are there or admissions representatives, like if you have general questions too, that's also sometimes a good way to get some answers. So, and at the forum, you might go to the admissions panel and they're like, oh, I have a question about letters of recommendation. Well, if you see a school rep that's not doing anything, they're probably there to help answer that question. All of them are qualified to answer these questions that you might have. So I definitely think, don't be shy about those general questions too. And I think to Lika's point, the other people attending the event are great pieces of your network too. So you might attend an event and meet someone who might be a future classmate. So definitely don't just think about meeting the other school reps, but definitely think about meeting the other candidates there as well. Along this line, what are the questions that you might ask of a candidate? So if you're talking to a candidate at a table, what are the questions that you might ask them? What are some things that candidates should kind of be prepared to talk about as they show up at this event? Whoever wants to go first. I feel like I've picked on
I
both
would
of
just
you
say
now.
that you should be prepared to answer, why you're interested in pursuing an MBA. And I don't think anyone's going to quiz you and be like, what do you know about this school, right? Like we're there to share more with you. We know that you could have just talked to a friend earlier that day, and this is the very first time that you're deciding, oh, maybe I'll go get an MBA. We don't expect that you know how many students are in our class or anything like that. But I think that you should be prepared to talk about why you're interested in getting an MBA, because that helps to shape our conversation. So at the very least, have that in mind.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's just nice to make that connection. If you know that you're able to attend one of the forums and can reach out to someone ahead of time, just to to make that connection. But I just like to learn more about those in attendance and the attendees, and just find out, tell me a little bit about your background and what you've been doing and what you are interested in, and how can I help you? If an MBA is the right path for you, then let's talk about that and what that looks like. But it's really just kind of making that personal connection so that you can have somebody to ask questions to, or even after kind of follow up with.
Yeah, and it's not an interview. It's not a quiz.
No.
So like, don't feel like, to Liga's point, that you're gonna walk up to the table and be like, "Ha, pop quiz. How many people are in our class?" Or "What's our average GMAT?" Like, no, this is not that event. So like, it's okay to be like, come as you are. Be authentic on where you are in this process, and that is okay. And as you said, school reps, this is their job. So like, they are very well versed in like, they could be talking to one person, and as I said, they could be like, okay, I've already submitted my application and I'm ready to go, and I have these super intense questions. And then the next person could be like, well, my friend dragged me here and I'm not even sure that I want an MBA. Very good at pivoting. So as I said, come as you are, come wherever that might be at that time. And the other thing is like, you might come to an event and you might only talk to a couple schools because that's where you are today. And then you might come to the event and be like, I want to talk to as many as possible. Again, wherever you are in the process. But yeah, definitely, come ready basically to answer why you're there, like, or why you're interested in MBA, what made you decide to come to the event today, that sort of thing. But like, for the most part, I would say, school reps are going to first try to make sure that you're comfortable. Like, hey, great to see you. Like, again, we're really friendly people. And then, just try to help you out with whatever questions you might have. And yeah, if it's, you're walking up at the table because you like the city of Dallas, or you like Carolina Blue, those are totally fine reasons to walk up to a table, or whatever else your reasons are for the day. So, at the forum, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to connect with school reps, start these conversations. I don't think anybody's going to get all of their questions answered at a forum, maybe. But then, obviously, candidates might want to continue the conversation. So after you've had a conversation with a school rep, what can candidates expect about how they might be able to continue the conversation? What are the things that candidates should do after attending an event like a forum?
Yeah, I can go. I think just the follow up, we'll reach out, especially if we've been able to get some information about you, your name and email, and just continue that conversation. And you could email the reps that you met, just say, so nice to meet you, looking forward to learning more about your program, or I'm excited to apply. We usually will send out a follow-up email and just say, hope you can join us on one of our upcoming virtual events. If you're local, here are some opportunities to come and visit campus, or we're going to be at this location. If you're in Dallas or close to Dallas, we'd love for you to come and meet you in person. So, once the forum is over, there'll be lots of follow-up and lots of opportunity to continue those conversations.
Yeah, join listservs. You can opt in to receiving communication from schools. And as you narrow your list, like, you may start on 20 different schools listservs, and as you narrow your list, you can easily unsubscribe if you're no longer interested in a particular school. This is also a great time to, look at upcoming events in person or virtually. I know that we travel around the country and internationally to various, obviously, things like MBA forums, like with Forté, and we host like coffee chats and things. And then virtually, of course, we recognize that not everyone can get to campus or could meet us in a city. So lots of virtual events. I think I'm speaking for everyone, that everyone is hosting like some type of virtual session to engage further with the institution. So that would be a great time to connect on the website and learn those types of things. And also, as you're moving through the application process, continuing to talk to current students and alumni. I think that, you have this big funnel, and as you move further and further into the application and admission process, you'll get more and more dialed in.
Yeah, and I think to the email point, you will probably get a flurry of emails, especially if you've opted into communication. You'll get a flurry of emails before and probably after the forum from schools. And yeah, you'll kind of decide like, do I keep, do I want to unsubscribe? Do I want to kind of, curate this list? And yeah, to like you said, as you kind of go down and you're narrowing down the list, you might be like, okay, the school's fallen off my list. I'm going to unsubscribe. Super easy to do. So just know that like schools want to email you because they assume that you want to hear from them. So it's super easy. If you don't want to, just unsubscribe. No problem. It's a great way for you to kind of, again, gather some more information. So like, oh, maybe I didn't make it to that school at the forum, but hey, there's an email here. I got some information. It's just another way to kind of gather some data on the schools that you might be interested in. You kind of mentioned this, Lika, but any other activities as kind of a follow-up to an event? So you mentioned coffee chats, you mentioned virtual programming that might be taking place. Anything else you recommend that candidates do as far as either events or things like that to kind of continue the conversation? Just want to make sure we kind of covered that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like Denise mentioned, like sending emails and things like that. Other ways outside of events, seeing what's going on. I mean, you can always check and see if schools are hosting like women's weekends or any sort of upcoming event that would, again, align maybe with like an identity or an interest of yours. So stay engaged with the schools that you're interested in, because we are all hosting tons and tons of opportunities on demand, live, in person, virtually, to help you get to know us as much as possible, especially for those of you who aren't able to visit campus, right? Like, we know that our audience is international and it's not always feasible to travel to North Carolina or to Texas to meet with the schools. So even like virtual small group conversations online and things like that.
Great.
Am I missing
Denise.
anything? I'm trying to think.
That's a good list.
Yeah. Only thing I was gonna say again, if you're local, if you're able to come, we've had very successful class visits. We'll set up, ahead of time with the professor. You'll have a chance to meet with ambassadors and go in and meet other students. And that's really been successful for our candidates, just to see themselves in the class and kind of get a feel for, yes, okay, this is where I feel like I belong and where I want to be. Other thing that we do again on the virtual side is we'll do a webinar, try to do it each semester with our Forté fellows. And so we'll have a specific Forté fellow webinar. So you can, join in, ask specific questions of the fellows, their experience in the program so far, and how they're benefiting from our Forté membership, and partnership. And then preview day, we'll do, again, a lot of schools do that. They'll have a Saturday, so it's not, conflicting with work schedule. We have to work around, but college football here in Texas, so we have to be very strategic in selecting that Saturday. But yeah, so we will have a day with that to be able to come up to campus, meet the staff, some ambassadors and current students. So like Lika said, there's all sorts of opportunities, and we're always happy to meet with you one-on-one too. If you're more just, I want to, have a one-on-one conversation, we're more than happy to set that up as well.
Great advice. I would say if you live in a place where there's an MBA program in your backyard, I would recommend a campus visit, especially if you can do a class visit, regardless of kind of your level of interest in that program, because I think getting a sense of what an MBA classroom looks like, especially, is going to be very different than an undergrad classroom. So I would say if you have the privilege of living near a campus, doing a campus visit is a great way to kind of just be like, okay, I'm starting to understand the lingo, what people are talking about. I'm starting to see the difference in the classroom environment. I think that would be really beneficial. So to any of you that live in a city where that's an option, great thing to do. Also, it's great to start thinking about, if you travel for work and you're going to be near one of the campuses that you're interested in, definitely reach out and see, hey, I'm going to be on campus. Any chance I can come by, someone to chat with, talk to students, whatever that might be, is a great thing to do as well, since a lot of you are kind of early in this process. That's a great thing to do. Wonderful. So we do have some time for some audience questions. So to our audience, if you do have any questions, make sure you drop those in the Q&A. That's where I'll be grabbing these from. And my colleague Melissa has been answering questions. So if you have a question, and it's a little off topic, Melissa might be typing the answer. Otherwise, we'll take your question live, and I'll just say if we don't get to your question, feel free to send us an email. I'll put that up here in just a minute as well. Great. So there was a question here about whether or not a candidate should email reps before the event. So I'm just going to leave that open-ended. Any thoughts about candidates reaching out before an event where they might see you?
Yeah, I mean, for schools that have email addresses that are publicly available online, obviously you're always welcome to email. That's not always the case though, so I wouldn't work too deep or too much to like find the emails. But by all means, you're always welcome to reach out. Also, one thing that I'll give as like a caveat, because we get so many emails that sometimes if there's not like an action required, we may not necessarily respond unless there's like a question just based on volume. But that doesn't mean that we didn't get your email or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, I don't actually know. Actually, maybe you can answer this. I don't know if like the specific rep who's attending the forum is known necessarily in advance, just the school. There may be
Correct.
information about who's on panels or my schools that may be presenting. So it could be challenging, but you can always reach out to general email addresses and say like, hey, can't wait to see you at the MBA forum in Boston, right?
Mhm. Yeah, we will share, and on any of the registration pages for the forum, you should be able to see all the schools that will be in attendance.
Great.
So like when you go to register for the event, you'll be able to see like, okay, great, this, XYZ school that I was looking for is there, or XYZ school is also going to be the admissions panel, or they have an alum on the alum panel, great. So you'll be able to see that. We don't provide the information of which specific school rep is going to be there. And there's always, just like the caveat is always like travel plans sometimes airports and the universe can fire against. And so like, I'm not guaranteeing, if they're on the list that their plane is going to get there on time, that sort of thing. But I promise there'll be plenty of schools to talk to as well. Denise, anything you're going to add on that?
No, I was just gonna say, I'll usually send something out, ahead of time, and I'm, love to get responses back, just, to introduce, say, hey, I'm gonna, come by and see you at your table. Again, just making that connection beforehand is really nice for us as the reps, just to be like, oh yes, we've been emailing. It's, so nice to meet you in person and continue the conversation.
Yeah, you
Yeah, we've
definitely
been
will
talking,
get.
do that. It's like putting a face to a name. It's like, oh, you're Ashley. Of course, we've been
Yes.
talking. It's really nice to put faces to names. So if you have been connecting with somebody, definitely introduce yourself at the fair.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. If you see someone you've met before, even
Mhm.
if you don't have any questions about that school, like, oh, I've talked to Alika a bunch already, definitely go by and say hi. Just be like, hey, just want to say hi. Last time it was a coffee chat in Atlanta, and it's great to see you here before. Like, whatever it is, it's always, these are people in your network. Admissions reps can be in your network. Great to go by and say hi. And this is kind of a good segue to a question that I was going to ask, but someone just put it in the Q&A. So like, thank you for someone asking the question that I was going to tee up anyway, which is basically when candidates meet you at the table, are you going like, should they expect to like, are you going to take attendance? Are you going to write down their name? Like, are you looking at who's actually attending these events?
I like to get their contact information just so that I can, follow up with them. I'm not necessarily, keeping track. But it's more, again, just to have that information, be able to add you into our email campaigns if you're, okay with that. And then just to continue the conversation, like I said, and answer any questions that you have after the forum. It is a lot of information. There's a lot of schools. And so you might, go, I think this was the school that I was talking to and they had such and such program, but I just need to confirm that. So it's more, just to be able to continue the conversation with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think
not admission driven, right? Like
No.
I don't think that it's like, oh, it's great for data collection, especially as it's like, hey, you put those budgets in and it's like, look at all the people we're talking to at these Forte forums. Definitely want to be able to, keep going to those and doing more. So great for data collection, great for making connections, but it's not driving an admissions decision, right? We're not going to say, oh, they never, came to one of these events. They must not be interested in the school and thus not, competitive for admission.
yeah, it really can only help you in the
Mhm.
process. So if you're making an effort to go to an event and a school rep wants to take down your information, you should absolutely give it to them, right? Because they might be like, oh yeah. Then when you email them later, they'll be like, oh yeah, I did meet that candidate at that event, right?
Mhm.
Helps jog the memory again. The reps are very busy. They might be going. We have reps that attend every single forum, so it's like 12 events in 3 weeks, and some of them, I guarantee you are gonna be like, did I meet you? So make sure you give
Did
them
I go
contact
to
information.
Atlanta?
So yeah, it really can only help you in that process for sure. But definitely, I would say many, or probably I would say most school reps are going to ask you to at least provide kind of your name and your email if you stop by the table, just so they can kind of continue that conversation with you. So definitely be prepared for that as well. Great. This is not particularly on topic to recruitment events necessarily, but I'm going to take it since this question's been sitting in Q&A for a few minutes, is any suggestions for candidates that are looking to switch careers? So if I'm at an event and maybe, I'm a career switcher, so I'm like, I'm going to use the MBA to make a big pivot. Any suggestions for those candidates, maybe just generally speaking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big component of thinking about doing the MBA, and what a lot of our candidates are planning to do once they come to our program, and where we work closely with our career coaches and our career management center ahead of time, kind of finding out what your background's been, what you have been doing, what you're thinking about switching to. So we can definitely speak to that from a career perspective, and the resources and support that we provide while you're in the program, and helping you connect you with alums. If again, if you want to continue that conversation, we can certainly connect you with one of our alums after the forum, just to find out more information and how they made that pivot, even in a particular industry, if that's helpful as well.
That's a good question to go back to one of the earlier questions of like, what kind of things should you ask about? It's very common to be a career switcher. I think a lot of people use the MBA as a launch pad for, pivoting industries or functions, sometimes both. So to go back to questions to ask, you could say like, hey, I've been working in marketing. I'd love to go into strategy consulting. Can you talk about some of the resources that can help me make this pivot at this particular school? So that would be a great way to have those conversations at the MBA forums.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think, Denise mentioned something earlier about kind of asking questions around career services. So I think this definitely a forum is a great time to have that kind of individualized conversation, because that's something that's a little harder to just look on a website, right? There might be like, oh, you might get lucky and there's like a student profile. It's like, oh, that person had the same background as me and they ended up doing the same thing I want to do. Like, that'd be great. But I guarantee an easier way to do that is to just go to the school rep and be like, hey, I work in XYZ industry now and I want to pivot into ABC. Do you have any students that have done that before? How is your career services structured for career changers? That sort of thing. So like having those kind of individualized questions, that's a perfect way to utilize the time at the forum for sure. I think the other piece is, and we touched on this, we might have touched on this, maybe we didn't, is some schools might also have with them alumni or sometimes current students, because it's August. Some students might be in a different place for their internship. Some schools might have an alum or a student there with them that you can talk to. And so that's a great chance if you see someone at the table that, if there's more than one person, one of them might be a student or an alum, and you can ask them. And they'll be there to kind of share their experience. Also make a plug that at a lot of our events, we'll also have some Forté alums there, either on the alumni panel or at our registration table. So if you want to chat with someone, we definitely help to kind of provide that resource as well. Anything else, Denise or Lika, kind of around current students or alumni, if they are there or you're at an event anywhere with a student or alum, anything that you recommend candidates talk to them about rather than admissions? Like anything you're like, ooh, that's a much better question for a student.
I think our recruitment events that we have with our students, it's awesome, because we kind of take a step back, and the students take over and just talk about everything from admissions, their experience, academics, their job, internships, job search. So yeah, we're fortunate enough to kind of work around their schedule and have our ambassadors or current students or alumni there as well. They really add, and we've always said this too in some of our information sessions. I will give you, kind of the basics and the admissions, but we know, you really do want to talk to someone that's currently going through it or has recently gone through the program, and that's where the real value is in hearing their experience. So we always try to do that if we can. So yeah, definitely recommend that. I think most schools have their ambassadors on their website, so they're there to talk to you. Feel free to reach out and learn more about their experience in the program.
I don't know if it's widely known, but there's a lot of admissions representatives that actually don't have MBAs or don't have MBAs from the schools that they are representing. So sometimes people are like, "What was your experience like?" And I'm like, I have a graduate degree, but it's not an MBA." Like, we don't always have firsthand knowledge of the student experience. So asking specific, like, student life, balancing priorities of being a student with being some folks are coming with partners, families, like balancing all these responsibilities and academics, like those very student specific questions, those are the great ones to ask alumni and students that are currently in the program, because we can speak anecdotally. And that's actually, to Denise's point, I'm often taking a step back and listening to what they're saying so that I can then share that from a secondhand perspective in the future. That's where I get all my good anecdotes, is from listening to what students are saying. So getting that firsthand primary source of information is great.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, we were just talking before we started this webinar that uh, classes are just starting. So like orientation is just starting, I should say, for many first year programs right now. And the admissions reps that you're going to meet have often had their hands are all over those cohorts. And so they can definitely, to Lika's point, like they don't have their MBA from that program, but they'd be like, well, we have, one of our incoming students or one of our current students, XYZ. They can kind of give you these anecdotes and then kind of connect those threads for you. So I think that's also something to think about, is like, come in not with the expectation the admissions rep has also lived that experience, but I guarantee you they have like a depth of knowledge about the people that have done this program before. I can kind of speak to that and make those connections for you as well. And you both mentioned ambassador programs. When you're looking at the students or at the website before the as you're doing your research, whether before or after the event, when you see an ambassador on there that you're interested in connecting with, that's a great thing to do. And if you have questions from that follow-up, or they bring up a program, you're like, ooh, that's a really interesting extracurricular or experiential opportunity, then that gives you something to talk about at the event. So kind of all these threads are going to get woven together, but great advice there. Wonderful. We've just about wrapped up the Q&A in the chat. I will say, if anybody has any like more specific admissionsy type questions, these are great questions to bring to the forum. So there's been a couple questions in the Q&A that are about like very specific, like, hey, this is my background, what should I do? You guys are ready for the forum. You're going to bring those and talk to these amazing school reps. Forum, all about this. So definitely bring those questions to the forum. And if you're attending our forums, you will probably see a Denise or Lika at some of these. So you get a special bonus if you happen to see them in person. You'll be able to say like, hey, I saw your webinar in August. Thanks for the advice. Here I am. So you all have something to do at the forums. Before we close out, Lika and Denise, I wanted to give you both an opportunity. Any final words of advice, whether about the forum or other recruitment events that candidates might be attending? You could just give general advice, but I'll let you each share kind of a final piece of advice before we close out.
Oh, good question. I think that my piece of advice is to go into this process knowing that you are bringing something to the application process, to the schools that you're interested in. I know, because I've had a lot of conversations with people who feel like, oh, I don't know if an MBA is for me because of XYZ, because of an academic thing, because of a professional background, because they don't know if they have enough experience or the right experience. And so recognizing that an MBA there's no equation that makes the perfect MBA student. These programs, we are looking for a diverse array of applicants, and I mean that from, everything from what you studied when you went to school, to where you're working, to your personal experience, demographics, all of those things. Bringing in a really unique class is only going to add to the richness of the classroom conversation, to the fabric of our alumni. So know that you have a valid place in this. So if you're having any imposter syndrome or fears around that, know that you are not alone. So that is my piece of advice.
Great advice. Great advice. Thanks, Lika. Denise.
Yeah, I would just say one thing I love about the Forté Forums is there really aren't too many other opportunities to have that many schools in one room that you get opportunity to talk to the admissions folks. So just take full advantage of that, and be yourself. Don't, we're not scary. We like, Ashley said, we want to talk to you. It's important that it's a productive time, for us, and that we have good conversations. So just be yourself. It may be a little out of your comfort zone to go up, but it's going to benefit you as you start down this journey, and looking at different, careers or job opportunities, just to go into a room for networking, kind of look at it like that. You're continuing to expand your network and getting practice doing that. So just take full advantage of that, and I hope to see some of you next week. It'd be great.
We'll be at all the
Yes.
forums, so come talk to Keenan Flagler.
Yes, it is going to be a great opportunity, and we certainly hope to see many of you in person or virtually over the next couple of weeks. And a big thank you to Lika and Denise for their time today. As we're saying, it's kind of orientation is here, and so school reps are super busy, but they're also really excited to get on the road and to chat with all of you. And my final piece of advice is that we want you at these events. We put on these events for candidates like yourself. So if you're on the fence about whether or not this event is for you, it is, and we would love to see you there. So I'm just going to close us out with a couple of final comments before we close for the day. So again, thank you to UTD for sponsoring today's event. If we did not get to your question, I know I had a couple come in the last 30 seconds. If we did not get to your question, please send us an email. We are happy to help. Also, your questions are welcome at the forum. So even if we did answer your question today and you want some more insight on that, definitely feel free to attend those forums, chat with those schools, but feel free to send us over a note if you have questions about the content today, any of the things that we covered, or if you have questions about any of those upcoming events. We're certainly happy to help. It was my pleasure to moderate the conversation today. Certainly wonderful to see both Lika and Denise virtually, and excited to hopefully see them in person as well here in the next couple of weeks as we attend our forum. So thank you to our audience for being here today. This is available as a YouTube stream after the fact. So thank you all for being here today. And again, Denise and Lika, my pleasure to moderate. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so